Welcome back to Harbour Unboxed. Today I'm building a very small PC inside the very small InWin Chopin computer case. Now, I unboxed this impressive little case on an Unboxing Boxes episode about a month ago now, so I thought it was about time I got around to putting this little computer together. Over the past 5 weeks, I've put together a large amount of Raven Ridge content, and we've benchmarked these new APUs from just about every single angle possible. The only thing I haven't done is put one inside an ultra compact Mini-ITX case. So let's correct that. Be warned though, the build that I have planned isn't the most cost effective, and it's certainly not the way you'd go about things if you wanted to build a cheap budget PC. But later in the video, I will recommend parts for a budget version of this build. This is more what you'd build if you were after sort of the ultimate compact home theater PC. You know, something that can handle all your multimedia requirements while also capable of pushing over 60 FPS in titles such as Overwatch at 1080p. For this, we're going with the Ryzen 2400G, 16GB of DDR4 2666 memory from ADATA, the Gigabyte AB350N gaming Wi-Fi Mini-ITX motherboard, ADATA's S10 NVMe 256GB SSD, and that'll be used as the boot drive, and then we'll have Crucial's MX500 1TB SSD for secondary storage. And I know this isn't the most economical storage configuration, but it's all I had on hand and it will work well in this build. Then cooling the Ryzen 5 2400G will be the Cryorig C7 compact CPU cooler, and this of course will be going in the InWin Chopin Mini-ITX case, which also includes a 150 watt power supply. So let's quickly throw all this together, and then I'll play a few games on it and show you how well it runs. Alright, so we are pretty much done with this build. Got the SSD in the back, that's all secured, connected up, should be working perfectly fine. You will notice that there is very little room to install this cooler, so the mesh protrudes a little bit, but I don't know if it'll be enough. Let's find out. Okay, I'd say 1mm with the panel on properly, maybe even 0.5 millimeter. That wasn't quite as quick and easy to put together as I had anticipated. Still, there were no major dramas. Squeezing in the motherboard and then connecting up some of the cables, that was probably the trickier things that I encountered during the build, but it's probably not overly surprising that squeezing some of this stuff in is a bit difficult given the size of the case. Now that it's built, it looks very similar to what we started with, and well, that's because there's no glass side panels or anything like that. That would very heavily restrict airflow in such a small case. So we just have the mesh side panel. You can of course see the white fan on the C7, but apart from that, it all looks pretty similar to what we started with. That said though, the show pan is just a fantastic looking case as it is, and I really like this silver version. I think it looks a bit special. It is worth noting though that US shoppers are getting stung quite heavily for this model. It would cost about $130 US to purchase this thing from eBay, and you would be buying it from an Australian retailer. For whatever reason, InWin aren't selling this case in the US, or at least I can't find it available in the US. So if you guys do know of somewhere in the US that's selling this case, then let me know. I'll put the link in the video description for people who are keen on getting one. Short of finding someone selling this case in the US, unless you're really desperate and you really want this case, it's probably not worth spending $130 US to get one from an Australian retailer. There certainly are other alternatives that can be purchased locally in the US. The CryoRig C7 fits with about 1mm worth of clearance in this case, so depending on how thick your motherboard is and stuff like that, it might actually touch. It's like a millimeter, maybe even half a millimeter. If we touch the mesh panel very softly, it does rub on the fan, so there's very little clearance there. But anyway, we should probably move on to see how the C7 works in the show pan case, and to do that I will be showing you some gameplay footage in F1 2017 and then running a long Blender workload. Overall, I have to say, I was a bit disappointed with the final product. I wasn't expecting any miracles from the CryoRig C7, but I was actually expecting the results to be better than the box cooler. I believe the Wraith Stealth comes with a 65 watt TDP. I think that's for the cooler anyway. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm sure someone can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But the C7, that is rated for 100 watts. Whatever the situation there though, based on my own testing, the C7 doesn't actually appear to be any better than the Wraith Stealth. The temperatures were much the same, and this meant that the Ryzen 5 2400G really had no room for any kind of overclocking in this case. You could push the GPU up a little bit, but it ran very hot even when gaming. With everything left stock, the system hit 57 degrees when gaming, and that's actually pretty good. That said though, under serious CPU load in our Blender stress test, it did hit 78 degrees, which is, I think we got 76 with the Wraith Stealth. We weren't in a case though, so I'd say they're very similar. So again, this is acceptable, but yeah, it's not really any better than the box cooler. The C7 also seemed quite a bit louder than the AMD box cooler, so that's something I'll have to do in a side-by-side test in the near future. But based on initial impressions, it doesn't really seem like the C7 is worth the investment. I was quite happy with the rest of the system though. It was pretty awesome seeing this compact little PC delivering playable performance in a number of popular titles at 1080p using respectable quality settings. Not that long ago, I did check out the ASRock Desk Mini-ITX 1060 at $850 for the bare-bone version. Was very costly. All up, it would cost you at least $1,500 US to outfit the Desk Mini, and while very impressive for its size, I feel the Chopin build is really just as useful as a home theater PC / gaming console replacement thing. It's also much cheaper. That said, for these Raven Ridge APUs to really make sense, you'll want to spend far less. The Ryzen 3 2200G really is the best value choice, and ASRock's Fatality AB350 Gaming ITX motherboard will also save you about another $10. Personally, I feel it's a better board, so you might as well get that one instead. In the bargain bin, you'll also find the InWin BP655, which comes with a 200 watt power supply for just $60 US. You can also save a heap of money by getting 8GB of memory, but be aware with just 2 DIMM slots you will need to get rid of it if you ever want to expand capacity in the future. Then the AMD Wraith Stealth Box Cooler seems like the way to go in these compact Mini-ITX builds, and then for storage your options, well, they're almost limitless really. I personally really like the Crucial MX500 525GB SSD for $140, and you can get that in the M.2 form factor to save even more space for larger mechanical 2.5-inch hard drives. Coming away from this build, I'm actually really keen now to do a Cryorig C7 versus Wraith Stealth comparison inside of the Chopin case. That should be quite interesting, so keep your eye out for that. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one. If you did enjoy the video, then be sure to hit the like button for us. Subscribe for more content. If you appreciate the work we do here at Hardware Unboxed, then consider supporting us on Patreon. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Steve. See you again next time.